Hello, everyone. I'm Daryl,
I'm Victoria.
and this is A Little for the World. Victoria, thank you so much for joining me. Before we get started, I just want you to introduce yourself a little bit more and talk about your practice as an artist and just who you are, where you're from.
Hi, everyone. I am a dancer. Currently, I haven't been dancing as much, but I'm working my way back into it. I'm also trying to pursue modeling as well. I can sing, but I haven't sung yet to anyone, not even Daryl. But we'll see within time. And yeah, that's me. That's Victoria. Oh, I also write poems. Yeah.
I would say one of the main ways we connect is through dancing, and like just this personal relationship we have with finding our own voices when it comes to dancing and who we are apart from like other people's expectations that's been placed upon us since like childhood. But yeah, before we even talk about dance or anything like that, post COVID, like post quarantine and like the mandate being lifted, and we both live in New York and the world seems fast again and personally sometimes overwhelming. Well, most of the time overwhelming, and it's something that I'm working through right now. How are you dealing with now? And how is it affecting you?
That is a great question. I feel like here and there we would talk about how it's affecting us now, but I feel like I've never truly like asked myself, how have I been feeling with all of this? How has it really been affecting me till now? And I would say during COVID, I felt very lost. I was going through something traumatic, so I was healing through that, as well as finding myself again through all of that. And then, hearing death after death after death, it's a lot to take in. And obviously, I feel for myself because I am sensitive. I do accept that about myself, but I do feel when I hear about other people who are sick, who are dying, it's a lot. Um, so yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. And fast forward to now, I still feel a lot from everyone, and I analyze everyone now and how they're feeling, how they're coping, and it's just like we're all just trying to get through it day by day, but we're all really tired. Really tired. And it can be draining when you feel that from other people and you're also feeling it yourself as well. So I think I'm just trying to breathe and just see where life takes us, because even though we're trying to go back to quote unquote normal, it's still new. So, yeah.
It's very new. It's crazy because I didn't expect to feel what I'm feeling now. Like I find myself fighting, old habits and old feelings again. And it took me a while to come to terms with that and accept that and know that, it comes with humility. And what sets me apart from who I was before and who I am now and who I've developed, myself to be is the way that I handle it now. Um, and I appreciate about you that you acknowledge yourself as a sensitive being, because I personally think that all of us are, but a lot of us block it so much to the point where we like aren't even like some of us aren't emotionally capable to communicate with people about our feelings, and it kind of just like gets in the way of friendships and relationships and stuff like that. And I appreciate that you are familiar with being so sensitive, and I'm a sensitive person, so like you are open with me and you like encourage me and you give me a space to like be honest, you give me a space to grieve, a place to be heard, a place to just express myself. Is there anything that has been helping you now with those overwhelming emotions, the difficult emotions during this time, and like feeling so many different energies at once, like where are you putting that?
So during the pandemic, I definitely had a lot more time to be with myself, which was amazing. At the time, I never knew that I needed that because before COVID, like I wasn't aware of anything until the traumatic event had happened to me and I started healing and then COVID hit. So once all of that occurred, I actually took the time to let myself feel whatever I wanted to feel and know that everything that I'm feeling is valid and that is okay to feel. So what some things that I would do would be one, cry, obviously. But other than that, I would write a lot in my journals. I would a lot all of the time during COVID. I would also dance to music that would make me feel good, make me feel feminine, make me feel strong, empowered, all that. And I would sometimes sing here and there just to get my voice out. And yeah, those would be like the main things. Also, I would take walks at the park whenever I seriously needed to just like, okay, I need to go somewhere because staying inside would give me anxiety, would make me think a lot all of the time. So yeah, I would take walks at the park and just acknowledge the trees, say hi to them, and I would imagine them saying hi to me. And yeah, but now I am back in school. So it's been hard trying to balance school and myself because I am constantly around people, I'm constantly around energy, and you can get so lost in that. Like I've said before, I feel lost. But I do find specific days throughout the week now to take time to myself and just write, just keep on writing and just see where my mind takes me, see what exactly is going on in my mind. Cause I could be thinking, but not even knowing what exactly I'm thinking. Like, it's just, it's a lot that goes on in here. But yeah, I think right now I'm just trying to balance everything out, which is hard because I have a lot of things like school, work, and then I'm tired. I just want to go to sleep. So, yeah. But hopefully within time, I'll feel more balanced. Yeah.
I would love to say that I feel like now is proving that we are not meant to live the way we used to live. Not to speak for everyone or both of us, but personally, I feel like now is showing me that I am not meant to be living the way that I lived before COVID, you know, and I'm meant to explore, I'm meant to turn to those little things that I turned to during quarantine to make me feel happy. A friend of mine, she once told me, she was like, when the pandemic happened and you were stuck indoors, you turned to art, you turned to reading, you turned to watching movies, you turned to all these creative things that made you feel happy. And I think that as humans, it's so hard to slow down and give ourselves what we need. And for me, sometimes it's like, I know that I want to go to the park. I know that I want to go take a walk. But in my mind, I'm like, but I also have to run around and do this and get this done. But like, it's kind of disrespectful to me, you know, in a way. So where I am right now is learning how to listen to that voice in my head that's saying, this is what I want to do. Like, let me do it, no matter what's going on around you or the pace of the place that you live in or the pace of the people around you or your friends. Like, you know, just ignore that stuff when you know that you need something. And it's getting a little bit easier, but it's really hard. I feel like right now is the part where like I have to do the work even more. Like I thought that I mean, I was doing work to develop as a person and as an artist before, but I feel like now is when it gets really challenging. And I think that now is when it's going to matter most in the future, the way that I fight for myself right now.
I like that you said that it's been disrespectful to you when you don't put the work in for yourself because I feel like I've been feeling that way obviously as well, but I feel like you saying that actually like made it make sense now. Like, it is disrespectful to me that I'm not asking myself, like, how are you, Victoria? How are you feeling? Because I've been constantly asking everyone, like, how are you? Like, that's all I would ask every day, but I'm barely checking in on myself. And that's horrible because it's like I've come so far throughout the pandemic. And now it's like I'm kind of starting back at square one. So it's been a battle. It has been. But like you said, as long as you put in the work to make yourself number one priority, that is all that matters. Which actually, I have a question for you because this relates to what we are talking about. What exactly has been affecting you lately?
Lately, I would say what has been affecting me is this obsession with the way that I am perceived in the world by the people I live with, friends, people who do love me, but me getting in my own head worrying about the way they perceive me, especially strangers in public and just walking around and worrying about the way I'm perceived. Um, yeah, and taking things personally, taking the ways some people communicate personally, and I find myself having to let go of the idea that everything is my fault all over again. And it's challenging, but I've done it before, so I know that it's possible. And I have hope and I have friends who are willing to tell me like over and over, like, you are incredible. The way that my relatives treat each other. I think that the way that I've been taught to communicate with people and not express my feelings has really affected me today. And it's something that I'm really working on, learning how to effectively communicate my feelings. And I find it easier to do that with friends, but I'm really working on, like, sometimes around my relatives, I still feel like that shy little boy again who is supposed to speak when spoken to. I'm very scared to use his voice, and always whispering. It's so weird how, like, there's a switch, like when you're out and you're living the life that you have created for yourself and you're with your friends, your children, family, you are more yourself, but and you feel more liberated, more free, more cared for, more safe. But then when you, like, go around the people that knew you when you were a child and played a huge impact on your life, then it's like I feel like sometimes I become that quiet, shy person again who's afraid to speak. And like suddenly my voice feels like there's like dirt in my throat, or like my rib cage, or like my lungs feel like sandpaper, and I can't really say things as I'm thinking them, or like not knowing how to set boundaries the way I would with a friend. It's tricky. It's really tricky, and I'm learning how to deal with that now. I don't know why. I feel like I become mute when I'm around people that I've grown up around now. Sometimes it's like I feel like that person again. So I'm just learning how to stick to who I am, and have more integrity when it comes to walking into these rooms or running into these people that I've known all my life when I was hiding. I feel like I'm not writing it enough. And when I'm not writing enough, I feel very off balance and very upset. And I start to like dislike people even more. And like it just shows a lot of it. That's like one of my main forms of self-expression. So when I am like stray from that, I feel disconnected from myself and the world, and I want to hide again. Yeah. Also, I've realized that I've been really wonderful growing up, but I didn't know that because I was brought up to feel the opposite by the men who were influencing me when I was too little to know. Yeah, and but that feeling of being pissed off about that is influencing my work in beautiful ways and my determination. So I'm using that for good. That being pissed off about that, it's really fueling my creativity. I just had to say that.
Well, that is lovely. I'm glad that you're acknowledging that about yourself because you are wonderful. You always have been. I can relate with you about your family and how communication works or how it has been working with you guys. I feel like with my family, it feels like even though nobody's saying anything, you know, you know what's going on, but nobody wants to say it. But like they're acknowledging it, but it's like they're too afraid to say it. They're too afraid to bring up what's actually going on, what's actually affecting our family. And that's what sucks. Because I'm I've noticed, like you said, like throughout my entire life of growing up, nothing has been confronted. Or even if it has been, it's probably been confronted like halfway through. And then it would just be brushed off after, like nothing ever happened. And that's not okay. How are you supposed to get to like the main point of what's gonna help us grow out of what we're going through? It's still a big effect till this day. And there are times where I do bring it up in front of my mom, for example, and you know, she would hear me out, but then she wouldn't fully hear me out because it's like a block, literally a block between me and the rest of my family.
I definitely can relate, like 100%. I have experienced so much, since childhood, like, huge things that really affects families happen and then like it just be brushed over like nothing happening. But like there would be passive aggressiveness and like, hints that this person's feeling that way continuously on and on, but no one's really sitting down to like, you know, express themselves. And I really think that that's one of the reasons why this is so important, why Little for the World is so important, because like we don't come from backgrounds where like we do this with our families, we don't talk, like no one talks, and I know that talking is such an important thing as a human, and that's why this is a thing, because like talking is just so, like for example, I noticed that like my favorite TV shows like One Tree Hill or like my favorite books are things where people are talking to each other and like, expressing their vulnerable emotions. But now I want to talk to you about dancing. And like I mentioned, dancing is one of the ways that you and I connect. You've been dancing for a long time. You've been dancing basically your whole life so far. And you have encouraged me to dance and open up to my dancer and be true to myself, and like really return to the home that I built for myself when I grew up in environments that just felt, scary. Um, but talking about dancing, I want you and I both to first share how we met the art of dance, and from there, the relationships that we have with dance, and separately the things that we've been doing as dancers. And we have both like very two different experiences. You're a lot more experienced.
Yes. So, like Daryl said, I have been dancing for a long time. I have been dancing since the age of 7. My parents, I don't remember, I honestly don't remember myself being as like dancy, dancy, dancy at like 3 years old. But like, I think one day my mom just like took me to a dance class and I just took the class and everything just was so simple, so straight to the point for me. So I was like, oh, okay, this could be something that I could do for like a long time. And like literally my first recital that I had that same year that I took my first dance class, it was like, oh, okay. So I'm meant to be a superstar at this point because all these people are looking at me and it feels good to be looked at while you're doing something that feels good. So ever since that moment, I continued dance for the past, I'm gonna say, what was it, 7, probably like 16 years I've been dancing, and I did competitive dancing. I've attended like these summer intensives at ABT, American Ballet Theater with Joffrey. And then I also had the opportunity to dance with Alvin Ailey because I went to professional performing arts high school. So that was really nice. And then on the side, I would do little projects for my friends who would want me to participate in them, and it would be fun. I would enjoy it. I truly do love performing because it makes me feel good about my body and about myself. But currently, well, no, let me not lie to myself. around around high school specifically, when I was like doing summer intensives and I was, with Ailey at the time, there was a lot of favoritism going on, and I wasn't a favorite, like, at all. I was also in a dance studio, a local dance studio as well during this time, so I would just never be a favorite. And there was a time when I was really young, when I first started dancing, that I was a favorite. I was always in the center. And I've talked about this with Daryl before, when there was a time where I was in class and I was put in the center for a dance, and I literally felt everyone's eyes on me. I mean, obviously everyone's gonna look at me because I'm in the center. But it was something under that tension. It was just like thoughts in my head like, why is she in the middle? Like, why does it have to be her? Why couldn't it be me in the center? And after that moment, it kind of felt like maybe I'm not deserving to be in the center because so many people feel like I'm not deserving to be in the center, to be the full attention, even though regardless, even though I'm in the center, everyone's the attention because we're all dancing. Um, but yeah, so throughout those years and then leading up to realizing there's a lot of favorites in the dance world, um, it just made me feel so low about myself and not confident in dance. Even though it makes me feel good, I didn't feel confident at all. I just felt like I started to lose it more and more throughout the years because of everyone else's thoughts and everyone else's obsession about being the attention. Um, so now I'm not dancing at all. My major in college is psychology, which is very interesting to me because I am always questioning everything about the world and everyone's minds and how everyone's feeling. So it makes sense why I would pick psychology. But I did actually try getting into the college that I go to for dance. It's just I didn't get in. So then I saw that as like, okay, like maybe dance is just not, it's just not for me right now because I'm not getting in. I'm getting no's. Like, even though I know I shouldn't let that stop me, but I have this tendency of once everything goes wrong, I'm just going to beat myself up about it. And that obviously has to do with, you know, not getting enough validation or, my parents always being mad at me and stuff. Like, I would always mess everything up. So, once a mess up, always a mess up, basically. um, and so now I have been thinking about dance a lot because of how I've been feeling internally. Yes, writing has been helping, but I just want to move again. Like I'm starting to feel stiff. I'm starting to feel like a normal human being, and it's not fun. So I'm trying to see where I can fit in the time to, get a room and just dance and not care. Um, so yeah, I really want to see if I get back into dance. I feel like I will. I will eventually because it's something that's a part of me. Like it's not going to go away. I'm constantly thinking about it. So it will come within time for me.
It will, but also you got to reclaim your power because you're very powerful. And a lot of people, it may not be intentional, but a lot of people seem to have convinced you that you're not powerful. And it seems like it started at home. And that's something that I can relate to 100%. Um, I feel like we're in stages in our lives where we are realizing that no one else matters but our dreams are very important, but they are only in our hands because they're only in our minds. Um, as far as dancing, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I know that was very vulnerable and that was very honest. And you've spoken to me about that, but like I didn't know if I expected you to share all that. And I know that like weeks ago you wouldn't have been comfortable sharing that yet. So I'm really, really proud of you. Um, but also like dancing for me, it's weird. It's new to like sit here and say that I'm a dancer. It's really nice because like I've learned that like I have to say my own name as an artist, you know. Um, but when I was a kid, I had this obsession with performing that never went away. I don't even know when this started. I would say it maybe started at 5 years old. That's the earliest I can remember. Because I remember like 2005 is when like Hannah Montana debuted and I was a huge fan. I think that's when my performances really began. Like me performing Hannah Montana music and like my mom and like her ex-boyfriend like being my audience at the time. And like I would force them to like be the audience and really like cheer me on. Ever since then, it stuck with me. Like up until discovering the Cheetah Girls, discovering like other girl bands, like just very heavily influenced by female pop artists. And like now, like performing in my bedroom to Little Mix for the past few years. But all of this in secret, all of this in hiding. And then to everyone else, I was just like, you know, this stiff person who just, you know, didn't dance. And dancing became my biggest fear. I think me already being a shy person definitely influenced that. But also, you know, I can't ignore the fact that like I was bullied a lot by, you know, adult men who were responsible for me when I was a kid and like, you know, making fun of me for loving the things that I loved. And, you know, it was just it said a lot about what instead of it preparing me for people who would not like me in the world, I think it made me believe I believed them. I believed that, you know, it was wrong and that, you know, yeah, I believe that it was wrong. I believe that it was all wrong. I believe that there's only one way to be a boy. I believed that, you know, at the time I didn't know, you know, for sure if I was gay. I knew, but I didn't know. Um, but even that I thought was wrong, you know, so I really strayed away from doing that in front of other people because I feared the word faggot, you know, I just feared being called something other than my name because of the things that I love to do. And but it's crazy because like those dreams never go anywhere. Like I've really realized like it's been over a decade of me hiding away from who I really am. And like those dreams have stuck with me forever. And like I would just go places and like just sit on the train and listen to my favorite songs, but like I wouldn't actually be listening to it with the artist in mind. I would be imagining myself on stage every time, like every time, just getting lost in my imagination, like a dancer getting lost in their body and experiencing it. I would always do the opposite, you know, like just imagine it because it was something that I didn't think was possible. And it just stuck with me. And I didn't know all this time that that was a dream of mine. I didn't know that I really dreamed of being a performer. I just thought it was just this guilty pleasure that I had because, you know, being a black boy from where I'm from, that's not real. You know, that is a guilty pleasure. That is something that you do when no one else is around and you don't talk about it. And if you do talk about it, you laugh about it because it's not serious, it's a joke, you know? Um, but now I am taking dance classes and giving myself the floor to dance, you know, renting a dance studio to dance, just giving myself that space to be who I am. And, you know, soon enough, start to develop and work on technique and all that. But right now, I'm really focused on just letting myself be who I am and get everything out and, you know, learn my body and move in ways that really help me get out of my head and counter the things that I thought I knew about myself that aren't true, that was projected onto me by other people who didn't think they were capable. Um, yeah, so I think that my relationship with dance is very tricky right now. It's hard. I definitely abandoned it, not necessarily, but I treated it like a dirty secret, and I think that is why our relationship is so heavy right now, me and dancing. Um, I didn't honor it, and I have not been honoring myself as a dancer for the past few years. And now I am taking the steps to do so. And it's difficult, but it feels right. It feels like no matter how long it takes, I'm willing because I'm just not going to spend another decade the way hiding. You know, that's just not for me. It's not who I am, you know, and I have so many visions of who I have the potential to become, and why not just keep at it. um yeah, it's been difficult. I still get very nervous around people. I have stage fright. Like when I'm going to dance in front of other people, I feel very hot and like afraid and frightened and panicked, and in my mind are these voices telling me that I should not move and I'm not supposed to move and that it's not right for me and I'm not supposed to be seen. But like, thank God for people like you, for example, and you know, other people in my life who support me, because it just it helps. Because yes, the only voice that matters is my still small voice, my inner artist child who knows what he's always wanted and who he's always been. But you know, having people in my life who counter those voices of the stiff, boring men adults that were in my life when I was a child, like it just helps a lot. um Yeah, I'm excited of what's gonna happen. I'm still very frightened, like very scared. I don't know how this is gonna happen, but there are things that I've done recently that I did not know were possible, and I didn't think that I would be doing them so soon, but I am. And you know, there are small achievements to some people who have been dancing for a long time, but to me they're huge because a year ago I wouldn't have seen it. A year ago I didn't think it was possible. You know, a year ago I didn't consider myself a dancer, even though it's something that I've cared about my whole life, you know. I'm working on my relationship with dancing and my dancer and just unclogging that really, really crappy hole full of like just opinions and self-hatred and self-loathing and just things that don't need to be there. Recently, you and I actually met up to write together, and we spent 20 minutes to write. You know, we do that sometimes, and it's one of my favorite things to do personally. It feels very healthy. You know, sometimes you and I meet at cafes and we just take time. We set a timer to write a little bit and express ourselves. I shared something with you that I wrote. I said that I felt like a flower tangled in weeds trying not to die. And I said that the weeds were very inconsiderate and strong and tenacious. But someone said something to me recently that really put into perspective like how much hope is really there. They said that dreams are just as tenacious as weeds. But the funny thing is, I never mentioned to them that I wrote anything about weeds. So it was crazy because I just felt like I really needed to hear that. And I was like, wow, like, where did they think of weeds? Like, I just wrote that. I felt like I was tangled in weeds, trying not to die. And she said that dreams are just as strong and stubborn as those weeds that are trying to, you know, keep you in that cage, that hold of like, I can't do it, I'm not enough. Like these dreams don't go anywhere.
I just want to tell you and let everyone know that I am so happy that you were dancing. Like, I still think about it till this day when I first, like, the first time that I asked you, like, you don't dance? Like, you're not a dancer. Like, I was so shocked because just looking at you, you're just full of art, Daryl. Like, you're full of everything that involves art. So I was just completely surprised when you told me that you're not a dancer. And to know that you're dancing now, like that is insane, like mind blowing. Like I cannot wait to see you dancing like all over the place. Like literally, I'm gonna be going to all of your shows. Like I'm always gonna be there with flowers in my hand, just like waiting for you to come off the stage. I'm just so happy you're dancing because it looks lovely on you. And I can see the beauty within you as well. And I also wanted to say that what you were saying about how you have your vision of all these dreams. I heard this saying where if you have these desires, these dreams of yourself that obviously no one else can't see, but you can see, that just means that that is meant for you. Whatever we see for ourselves is what's meant for us. So we cannot miss out on those opportunities. We can't at all. And, I never told anyone this, but you're actually the first to know this and whoever's watching. um, but I do have this desire to create choreography on other people. I really envision myself creating like on other people because I have all these ideas. I love making people feel like internally like what is actually going on in here because that's what really matters when you're dancing is what you feel and how other people are going to reflect and perceive on that. Um but I have so many visions on that. Like I really have this desire to create, but I also have this desire to model. I've always seen that for myself ever since I was little. I would always look in the mirror and be like, you're gonna be the cover girl, the next cover girl. Like that's it. Like that's gonna be you. And it will be. It's in the process. So yeah.
A friend of ours actually said, Melanie told me, she said she thinks that we like everything, as kids, but it's not until we start to get a bit older and grow up that we're told to choose this and this and choose and choose and choose. But you and I are very talented. We're full of so much, and I don't think that we're meant to do just one thing. When I discovered you're a writer and hearing your writing, it's so beautiful. Like I really appreciate hearing your writing so, so, so much. And that ties into what I'm going to ask you now, what we're going to talk about now, like, in self-expression in general, because you and I both love doing so many things. And for a while you went, just dancing. And, I don't know if you thought that that was your only, possibility at the time when you were only dancing. But for me, I spent so many years thinking that my only possibility was just being like a writer or someone behind the camera, directing and editing and producing things. But, I just I can't get rid of the fact that for my whole life, I've dreamed of being an actor, a singer, performer, dancing, like, being the one in the center in the spotlight, showing all that I am. Like, we just can't get rid of that stuff. It's always going to follow us. And I feel like one of the lucky ones, even though it feels really hard and overwhelming mentally for me to let go and do these things that I love to do. I feel like one of the lucky ones because like things just feel like they're becoming what they're supposed to be. Um, I just feel like I'm taking pieces of me and bringing them out of the dark with me out into the world. Um, but yes, creative self-expression. I want to ask you a few questions specifically about, I want to say about dancing, but also just about writing too. Like just anything that you did as a little girl that helped you express yourself creatively. Like what did that feel like for you? Because I know you danced in things, and like you were expected to dance certain ways, and you had like your family, like expecting you to, do things a certain way. But like as a little girl, just taking a step away from that, like, did you dance on your own and like just when no one's around? And how did it feel?
Thinking back on my years as a child, the funny thing is that I I didn't. I didn't dance in my room. I wasn't that kid. I wasn't the kid that, would go to the family events and, start dancing in the middle of the floor because that song is on. And no, I was really shy. I still am a little, but I was very shy as a kid. And even in my own room, I wouldn't dance. I would just either make videos of myself literally throwing my leg up in the air because I'm so flexible. But there was never a time I danced on my own. And I guess that's why it's so hard for me to improvise now. It's so hard for me because when I'm like put on the spot, it's like, oh no, like everyone, everyone is gonna have something to say now. But yeah, surprisingly, no, there was never a time. And then that's what makes me think like, is dance meant for me? Because I don't know. That's why it's such like a back and forth with dance for me because it's like I said, my parents did just they didn't throw me into dance, but they just brought me to a dance class and I just picked everything up like that. So right after that day, I was just like, okay, this is something that I can do, that I'm capable of doing. And like I said, I do enjoy it, but when I'm in my room, like I mean, now I do dance when I'm in my room because nobody's watching and I don't care. I'm starting to not care anymore. But as a child, I just I just remember always looking at myself in the mirror because I was so I was I was so obsessed with myself even though I knew I was a little ugly. I'm not going to lie. Nobody's ugly, but like, we all had that phase where it was just like, girl, but I was just always looking at myself in the mirror and just wondering, like, who are you gonna be when you grow up? Like, what's gonna happen for you? But I would always just tell myself, like, you're gonna be a superstar, like you're gonna be a model, and you're gonna do all these amazing things and empower other women and other human beings that you can do it all, and that you are special because I truly do feel special, and you are special as well. We are all special. Um, but yeah, never danced as a little kid, but I'm now doing it. So it's kind of weird how that switches. Yeah.
There is a possibility that maybe it wasn't meant for you to dance in school just yet, but not for reasons you think, not because dance is not meant for you. Maybe it's time for you to have like, build your own, work on your own relationship with that home that you've created for yourself apart from all the expectations and all that other stuff. Because I guess it's time for us to learn our bodies now. And I too, the whole freestyling thing. I took a dance class. I was taking dance classes in the summer to do a performance. The first performance I've done in honestly forever. The choreographer had a freestyle. And I remember like moving away. And this was a day where I was really in my head and I didn't feel like, good enough. And she looked at me because I was last. And when she looked at me, my heart sank and she was like, come on. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have it right now. And she was like, no. And she took my hand and like she pulled me in. And once I realized that I had no choice, I just let my body do what it wanted to do. And it just felt so freeing because like people were cheering me on, but like I wasn't in my head anymore because my body was doing the work for me. And that's where I'm at right now, getting out of my head and into my body. Now, for me, like my creative expression as a child, I would say that it saved me. I will acknowledge that now. It saved me. Like being a child and dancing in my bedroom and hiding away and, cutting off the light and dancing and pretending to sing, it saved me because I think that even though it was lonely and my dancer was very lonely and deprived of like being with other people, and it was unfair to myself to do all that alone and in hiding. I think that it saved me from putting my pain into things and people and places that would have destroyed me. Because honestly, if I didn't have that escape, I probably would. I don't know. I really don't know. I wonder what I would have been relying on for fulfillment when I was going through depression and all that, my teenage years. Like, I really wonder what I would have turned to when I felt empty inside. And I'm not gonna lie, there were times where I relied on people and relationships and friendships to like fulfill me. And, that is not realistic completely. And like, I felt distraught about it and it just like really broke my heart. But like, it could have been a lot worse, honestly. Like, it could have been a lot worse if I didn't have that with me. And especially as a child, like, I mean, I grew up and, I was loved physically and all that by everyone, especially my mom loved. But like, her and her siblings were really young still in their 20s, most of them, and like, still trying to understand their own traumas and experiences, and it was heavy for them. And we all lived in my grandma's apartment still, and it was a lot for me to take in, a lot of the stuff that they were going through and all that. It was scary, and I didn't know that at the time. But like, dancing and performing was my escape. It was very much my escape, and it's a home that I built for myself, you know? Like, I'm a performer, I'm a dancer, I'm a singer, and I'm just in the developing process. And I'm always going to be in that process for the rest of my life, even when I am this amazing performer that I never knew was possible, but would always envision. Um, as a child, I would write a lot. I would write songs all the time. I don't know how I didn't know that I was a singer, songwriter, and a dancer when that's all I ever cared to do. Like, it's crazy how like everything was right in front of me. I just didn't really know that it was possible to consider myself those things. Yeah, I would always write songs since like the age of like 7. Like, that's always been my thing. Um, yeah, we are both in the process of taking our power back. And the dreams that we have, we own them.
I want to step back to what you were saying about feeling alone. Um, when you feel alone, and I want you to be completely honest, when you feel alone and you don't feel like dancing, you don't feel like writing, you don't even feel like singing, what do you, is there anything else that you desire, that you think about when you are alone?
To answer this as honest as possible, I think that when I feel alone or really lonely, I start to feel smaller than I really am, and I start to like desire, like, wanting people to like glorify me more, or like almost like baby me in a way. And then I even sometimes start to like fantasize about people from my past and like past relationships, and creating scenarios of like people that I relied on in the past to like hold me and keep me safe from the world to do that now. Um, yeah. Um, what else? Now that's if it depends. If I am in my take action mindset, then I like to go for walks. I leave the house, I go, and no matter how hard it is, I walk through the city, experience things, or pick up the phone. There are times if I'm feeling alone and anxious, I have this obsession with my phone, scrolling on Instagram for way more than I need to, and it makes it worse. Or picking up the phone and like feeling like I need to call everyone. Like, being anxious and having a phone is very dangerous, honestly. Um, yeah, and I'm aware of myself a lot more than I once was, and I know that like I'm not a perfect human, so like there are times where I may want to resort to old ways and like, you know, contact people that I don't need to, confusing it as like my good intentions when in reality I'm very lonely and I want someone there for me, you know? Um, yeah. I think for the most part now I have been writing when I feel that way or dancing or yeah.
When I feel alone, it feels like nobody's going to save me. Like nobody's going to be there for me. Nobody likes me. Nobody's going to accept me in. I start shutting down completely because, like you said, you're so aware of everything else that's going on, and you don't want to feel like a burden to people when you do feel that way. So, when you are, when I am feeling like I'm in like a deep pit, black hole, it can be hard to get out of. There's some days where I feel like I can't stop crying because I'm just too sad. And it starts to get to the point where it does feel like it's hard to live because of that. Um, but then there are other times where I do fantasize like you, where I think about past people that made me feel like I was important and like there was a purpose for me. There is a purpose for me. Um, or I would just try to remember the little things that made me smile or that make me smile and think of my friends like you because the friends that I have now are amazing. They're all that I've ever wanted. And they're one of the reasons why I'm here, to be honest, because I don't know what I'd do without you guys. I really don't know. um, so, yeah. But then again, I do enjoy being alone. Being an introvert is so therapeutic for me now because I want to be aware of everything. I want to know what is going on inside Victoria. So it's like a blessing, but it can be a curse sometimes. But yeah.
I definitely agree with you. Um, to even add on, you know, being alone, feeling alone, it can be very convincing that I am alone 100% in the world. And like you said, that no one's gonna save me. It's like sometimes I felt before like my bedroom was underwater, if that makes sense. I read that in a book and I was like, that is a perfect way. It's like being in quicksand and like knowing what you need to do for yourself, knowing what's gonna help. But it's like mentally draining. And it's like, damn, no matter how much I've slept, no matter how much I've done this or that, like it just feels pointless, everything, you know? And I feel like I'm starting to realize now, like I've realized I've learned the importance of being active and, you know, being proactive and doing things that I know are good for me. And I've gotten and I'm working on getting continuously better at that for myself. And it's changing my life in beautiful ways. However, there are some times when the places that we are in feel very overwhelming to the point where I don't want to move and I feel like I can't move. It's like a mental hold. And I feel like not enough people are acknowledging that. Like a lot of people are saying, you know, do what makes you happy, which is yes, of course, you know, and that is a game changer. And I'm grateful that I've learned that I need to do what makes me happy because that has made my life so different and it's connected me with people like you. It started a little for the world. Like I'm different now because of it. However, it still gets hard, and there are days where I don't even realize mentally that it's possible to pull myself out. Like knowledge, but mental health, it's not the same, you know? And I feel like because we know what we need and we know what we need to be doing, some days, I don't know if it's chemical or what, but some days like things just feel overwhelmingly like it feels numb here sometimes. And it's hard to like get out the door. It's hard to get out the door down. You know, it's sometimes it's hard. And it's like a mental hold, you know, and sometimes, yeah, sometimes I feel like there's something wrong with me and I'm not supposed to be, you know, walking around in the world and people see me because I feel like there's just something wrong and I'm like an imposter, you know? So sometimes it's hard to know that there really is a positive effect from taking that time for myself. So what I'm learning how to do is keep on expressing this because like I said earlier, we don't talk enough as people. Like there are some very overwhelming feelings that are a part of being human and being affected by each other and people who had the upper hand when we were children. And that's never going to change. As humans, that's never going to change. And we have to talk more because we're not always going to be on top of our shit and we're not always going to be in those mindsets of like I'm really working on my mental health. I'm really doing great. And even sometimes when we are, some days it feels here, some days it feels here, some days it feels here. And I feel like as people who have been mentally abused, because that's so normalized, we need to acknowledge that there are days where we're going to feel here, days where we're going to feel here. But, you know, even if we don't feel capable of moving, we need to talk to people, you know, because that helps a lot. And it just like letting the people in our lives know where we are mentally, I don't know, something about it feels grounding for me. Like picking up the phone and calling a believing mirror of mine, someone who I know reflects the love that I believe I deserve. Like, and just telling them how I feel and them listening and, you know, just talking to me, like, it just feels so game changing. And like, I feel like on days where I don't feel capable, that helps a lot. But yeah, I just had to get that off my chest because I listened to this podcast today and like this person was talking about like mental health and that sometimes it's really not always about, you know, staying active and, you know, doing those things that you know are going to help. Some days it's like like you can't get to that point where you know it's important. It's like something is off, like a switch is off, a switch that cares, that knows that these things matter. It's off sometimes, you know? And it's good to talk about that. And I don't think that we talk about it enough. And that's why everyone's so drained these days.
Yeah. To add on to that, I feel like that's why I'm about to get into social media right now. um, I feel like that's why I'm just not on it as much anymore because I am tired of acting like everything's okay. Because obviously everything is not always okay. Um, and honestly, I'm just tired of seeing even others act like it's all okay or saying all these positive things. And it's just like, can we just be real? Can we just all just take a break from this social media and just take the time for ourselves? Like if they could just like delete the app completely, like for everyone, so that we could just like actually know what's going on around us and not care about what's supposed to be like posted or put up. Like it's just so like I'm just so over it. I'm over it. Like Summer Walker, over it. I I just I really just want to be true to myself and I want others to be true to themselves too and I want us like you said to just talk have an actual conversation and hear each other out because we have a lot to say. We do. And it's going to get worse if we don't say anything at all.
I agree. And I feel like we deserve so much better. Like we get so caught up in society's rules and standards and like, you know, working for money and, doing all these things, these roles and these jobs and, going to school and all this stuff, that we forget to be like, we think that that's human things, those things were designed for humans, yes, to reach some sort of like sustainability financially in life, live a certain lifestyle, but like we forget that those things are not really what it means to be human. Being human means to like be affected by a lot of the things around us, and communicating that with each other, and loving each other, and being honest about who we are and what we are and just how we are. Like, I know there's so many people who walk around every day not saying what's really on their mind. That's like most of the world, like a huge chunk of the world. And that's why Little for the World came about. I want to read something to you. Yes, let me see. I thought about you recently, and I um I decided to write about you. So I said, you fill this place up like no other light has ever, could ever. Nothing as bright as you has ever been in here before. Nothing as illuminating as you has ever cast a steady view on the unseen, hidden joys like you do. Your effervescence welcomes me to the day when I am distant and unfamiliar with my surroundings. Your smile is new and playful, opening my heart like a peony in the sun, awakening me and introducing me to the present moment and all that has for me to save to savor as if I've never known it before. Your presence is not only a light but a relief. You are a relief. You are a bright, joyful relief that exists apart from frustrations, heady fears, worries, or bad familiarity. You are helping me keep my hands onto my hope. When it slips, you catch it from beneath my fingers. You go, now be careful. That's important. With a smile, you encourage my smile, and we simply trail through life.
And that just, oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional. Ah! um Daryl, I love you so so much. I do. I really do.
I love
Thank
you
you for
too.
writing that.
Thank you for being you. I want you and I to take time to ask ourselves what we need right now and just answer the quickest things that come to mind without censoring it. I need to write.
I need to keep loving myself.
I need to use my voice louder.
I need to believe in myself.
I need to join humanity and not shy away or feel like I'm something different than everyone else.
I need to be present.
I need to do instead of worrying about doing.
I I honestly, genuinely need to be surrounded by a garden of flowers.
I need to dance.
I need to dance too.
Okay. So you and I are going to write about ourselves, and we're going to write about ourselves as if we were characters in our stories that we're writing. We're really going to acknowledge ourselves and the ways we've been affected by things and people, and the way we have coped with that since childhood, and the things that we've turned to creatively, things that make us us, the things that we love, as a way to take back our power and amplify our own voices, giving those little Black children power to speak up. And now that we're adults, like we gotta grab onto that, because we're very fucking amazing. So we're just gonna take that time. His throat is not dry. There's just so much that needs to come up, so much suppressed, so many battles that became internal. He learned to be the worst kind of warrior, the kind who conquers and remakes his own authentic land in order to approve in order to gain the approval of the ones who would never love him even if they tried. He's gone under with no one to save him but himself. The warrior became so weak from conquering and fighting himself so much that he just kept on going under, not recognizing that there were things to grab onto to pull himself back up to air more breathable, to clear his own throat, to say his own name. He had no idea that there existed ways to pull himself back up to air more breathable because they often told stories about the breathable air but never how to get to it. It's okay though, because I watched the dancer making his way through this hectic place with grace. How does a being carry both the grace and despair and not consider himself strong? I spy with my little eye someone who's becoming.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I'm like fangirling over here. This is so good. It feels good, doesn't it, to be you? Throughout all of these years, being or imitating what society expects you to be, you've come home. And yes, life can still feel out of place, overwhelming, and even suffocating. But there is still so much more for you to see, much more that awaits on your journey. This is just the beginning of what you aspire to be. I'm so proud of you. You are who you are, and that is beautiful. The light in you is shining through, making its way, while everything may seem as if you are going insane. But yet, it feels good. It feels good to finally be you.
I really love the part where you express like, yeah, it feels scary, overwhelming. Sometimes you feel like you're going crazy. You don't know what's real or not, but like you're becoming, and there's so much more for you to see. Like there's so much to hold on for and just keep on unraveling. That was really beautiful. Thank you for writing it, for sharing it. I'm very proud of you. I believe in you, and you are meant to be who you've always dreamed of being and doing the things you've always dreamed of doing.
And for you as well, Daryl. You know how I feel about you, and you know I could go on and on about like, I really so thank you for this. This was so this was just lovely. It was lovely. I enjoyed it, and it was very therapeutic as well. I needed it.
I think that it was perfect. I wouldn't have had it any other way. I'm very proud of this, and like I'm very proud to have you here. I'm very excited for people to watch this episode. Once again, I'm Daryl,
And I'm Victoria.
and this has been A Little for the World.
Was strong brute force, put me right back home.